Hello everyone, this is Rajkumar here. Welcome to today's session on reading comprehension. I'm sure if you remember some time back we happened to discuss a similar kind of concept, reading comprehension, sometime back, a few days back in the session. And the concept is all about, you are provided with a paragraph which you need to read and you need to answer the questions that follow below the paragraph. Okay. So let me briefly explain to you, because in the previous session itself I happened to talk to you about what you call the importance of reading comprehension concept and the kind of tips I happen to give you for how easily you will be able to understand this and how you need to answer this. Because let me tell you, in today's corporate world, gone are the days when people looked at only just your communication skills. It's not about just speaking English. They want you to understand standard vocabulary. They want you to read what you call your pronunciation. Your reading style should also be good enough, because once you enter into the corporate world, it's not just about sitting before a laptop or a system and trying to do something, but it's more about interacting with the client. Okay, trying to impress him with your communication skills, with your style, and try to understand whatever he speaks in his style and the vocabulary and the standard. Therefore, this particular concept is aimed at testing your reading ability, your communication skills in terms of your reading, in terms of your pronunciation, and in terms of your comprehending, which means you need to understand it. It's not just speaking, but you should be able to understand what the other guy means also. So therefore, in this particular background, most of the companies are looking for people who just not speak communication skills, who just do not speaking communication or communicating in English does not suffice. They want you to do a little more beyond this, which means you should be able to understand, comprehend, you should be able to interact with them. So in that particular background, this concept is very commonly asked in recruitment tests. So part 1 I already discussed, and today we are going to discuss reading comprehension part 2. If you guys are ready, here we go. Yes, let's take a look at this passage. The unique Iron Age Experimental Center at Lejre, about 40 kilometers west of Copenhagen, serves as a museum, a classroom, and a place to get away from it all. How did people live during the Iron Age? How did they support themselves? What did they eat and how did they cultivate the land? These and a myriad of other questions prodded the pioneers of the Lejre experiment. So I'm sure by reading this few lines of the passage, you are able to comprehend what this passage is going to talk about. What are the things that are going to come about in the things. So remember, this is all about going to talk about Iron Age and the kind of experiments that were carried at a center called Lejre, which is around 40 kilometers west of Copenhagen, a city in America. Okay, let's see what happened here. Living in the open and working 10 hours a day, volunteers from all over Scandinavia, led by 30 experts, built the first village in the ancient encampment in a matter of months. The house walls were of clay, the roofs of hay, all based on original designs. Then came the second stage, getting back to the basics of living. Families were invited to stay in the prehistoric village for a week or two at a time and rough it Iron Age style. So here what happened, this particular scientist created what you call an Iron Age kind of a style house. Okay, they happened to design a village. They built a village. Okay, you can see at the beginning of the living in an open and working 10 hours a day. Volunteers from all over Scandinavia, led by 30 experts, built a first village in the ancient encampment. So they built a model village which replaced which represented the old age, the stone age or the Iron Age. So very much backward. Okay, they invited people to come and live in this prehistoric village, and let's see what happened. Initially, this experiment proved none too easy for modern Danes accustomed to central heating, but it convinced the center that there was nothing to the Lejre project. Little by little, the modern Iron Agers learnt that their huts were, after all, habitable. The problems were numerous: smoke belching out from the rough and ready fireplaces into the rooms, and so on. These problems, however, have led to some discoveries. Domed smoke ovens made of clay, for example, give out more heat and consume less fuel than an open fire. and when currently stoked, they are particularly smokeless. Well, by contacting other museums, the Lejre team has been able to reconstruct ancient weaving looms and pottery kilns. Iron Age dyeing techniques using local natural vegetation have also been revived, as have ancient baking and cooking methods. Well, friends, so that is the end of the passage. So the total passage is talking about an experiment led by a team of scientists, okay, historians, who are trying to understand how the people during the what you call the Iron Age period happened to live. So to understand their lifestyles and their way of culture, they happened to once again create a model village which was designed after the Iron Age style. Even the houses were built in that way, and they created a small village. And finally they said, they asked a few people, some young people of the modern age, to come into this village and live in that village. And let's see how this village could actually, how you would be able to adjust to the Iron Age style. And in fact, they were trying to also understand that there was no fireplace, because in the Iron Age there was no fireplace, because in the Western countries it is very chilling cold. So every time they require, in every house there is something called the fireplace, like the ones we have here today. In the modern India we have a lot of split ACs, because India being a hot nation, we have this facility for ACs, whereas in those countries, being cold countries, they had a place for what you call fireplace, where they used to put firewood and create some kind of artificial heat to keep them warm. So most of the young people of the modern day who came to this village to live in that village, which represented Iron Age style, they were not able to feel it. They were not able to adjust to the situations in the initial times. But as the days moved on, they got used to the style, and they got to understand how the people during the Iron Age lived, how their styles were, how they adjust to different the climatic conditions, and literally they created and tried to observe. In fact, in fact in this last passage they are also trying to say Iron Age people are dyeing techniques. So dyeing means putting color to their shirts. Okay, so applying color to this. So all those things, like how what kind of food they ate, everything was literally replicated there. That's what the passage talks about. Here we go with the questions. What is the main purpose of building the Iron Age Experimental Center? So what is the main purpose? Let us check out. After every question, again, as we already did it in the previous sessions, I'll be giving you around 5 to 6 seconds of time to guess the answer. The question is, what is the main purpose of building the Iron Age Experimental Center? Option A, prehistoric village where people can stay for a week or two to get away from modern living. Number 2, replicate the Iron Age to get a better understanding of the time and people of that era. To discover the differences between a doomed smoke oven and an open fire to identify the more efficient of the two. And D, revive activities of ancient women such as weaving, pottery, dyeing, cooking and baking. So which do you think is the most appropriate answer? Yes. The answer is, they wanted to replicate the Iron Age to get a better understanding of the time and people of that era. Because, I'm sorry. So, in the olden days, how in the Iron Age time, the Iron Age time, how people lived, the modern scientists wanted to understand. They wanted to get a feel of how those people adjusted and how those people lived. To get a better feeling, better understanding of time and people of that era, they created this particular Iron Age Experimental Center at Lejre. Moving on to the next question. What is the meaning of the sentence? Initially, this experiment proved none too easy for modern Danes accustomed to central heating, but it convinced the center that there was something to the Lejre project. So the options are: option A, even though staying in the huts wasn't easy for the modern people, the center saw merit in the simple living within huts compared to expensive apartments. Option B, staying in the huts was quite easy for modern people, and the center also saw merit in the simple living within huts compared to expensive apartments. Option C, the way of living of the Iron Age proved difficult for the people of modern age who are used to living in luxury. Option D, the way of living of the Iron Age proved very easy for the people of the modern age since it was hot inside the huts and they were anyway used to heated rooms. So try to pick the right option from out of the 4 options given below. The correct answer is option C. The way of living of the Iron Age proved difficult for the people of the modern age who are used to living in luxury. So that's what it means. This particular passage, or these few lines of the passage, indicate that the modern people who are used to luxurious living, it was initially the way of living proved to be difficult for all these people, because to live in the Iron Age with those facilities, with those kind of styles, and with those kind of house structures, it was a little difficult for the modern age people who are used to luxurious life. So that's what this particular passage indicates. Moving on to next question. Yes. What can be the title of the passage? Option A, modern techniques find their way into prehistoric villages. Coexistence of ancient and modern times. Glad to be living in this 21st century. Turning back time. So the answer is option D. Turning back time. So the passage could easily be titled as Turning Back to Time, because the entire Iron Age is recreated, is revisualized here, and in that particular situation all these people are sent to live. So it could be Turning Back Time, could be a most appropriate title for this. Moving on to next question. From the passage, what can be inferred to the center's initial outlook towards the Lejre project? Option A, it initiated the project, it eagerly supported it, it felt the project was very unique, it was apprehensive about it. Your answer? The answer is it initiated the project, because the project was basically initiated by Lejre. It's okay, Lejre, which is a town which is around 40 kilometers from west of Copenhagen, a city in America. So which means this is the basic thing. Okay, it initiated the project. Lejre initiated the project, but later it left it. Yes, moving on to next passage. Well, here we go with the next passage. Being a soccer mom usually means carpooling kids to games and watching them play. But new research shows that women who join in the fun and kick around a soccer ball can dramatically improve their bone and heart health. So, can you guys guess what this paragraph is going to talk about? This paragraph is going to talk about how exercise, very especially playing soccer. Soccer means football. The game of football is otherwise called soccer. So how playing soccer could improve the health conditions and the physical fitness of mothers who have kids. But the usual duty of mothers is to carpool kids to games. Carpool means to drop their kids at the the game spots by cars. That's what is called carpooling. But let's see if the women can play football, how it's going to affect their health, how it's going to improve their bone and heart health. That's what it's called. This passage is going to talk about. Moving on. Researchers in Denmark recruited more than 70 women of ages 20 to 47 who had no history of playing soccer as children or teenagers. 2/3 of the women were randomly assigned to either a running group or a soccer team. The rest served as a control group. At the end of the study period, women in both exercise group had improved on a number of indicators of health, heart health, balance, and muscle strength. Compared with the control group, however, the gains were greater among the women who had played soccer instead of running. So, a small experiment was carried out in Denmark with almost 70 women aged between 20 to 47 who never happened to play soccer in their childhood or any time of their life. The first time they were introduced and they were taught how to play soccer, and there was an observation they tried to check out the difference between the people who played, the women who played soccer, and the women who did not play, and they observed that there's a lot of improvement in the heart health and in the bone and muscle health of the women who played soccer when compared to the people who just only did a simple exercise called running. Moving on to next continuation of the passage. And playing soccer not only led to better balance and improved muscle strength, but the sport also increased a woman's bone mineral density by an average of 2 to 3%. Given that after the age of 40, women lose bone mass at the rate of about 5 to 1% a year, the gains from soccer are equivalent to reversing 3 to 6 years of bone aging. Well, next, moving on. Excuse me. Why was soccer so much better for a woman's bones and heart? Peter Krustrup, Associate Professor of Exercise Physiology at the University of Copenhagen, said that soccer gave women a more diverse workout than running. We analyzed the activity patterns during soccer and we observed multiple sprints, turns, tackles, headers, and shots on goal, he said. The researchers speculate that the varied activity patterns were more stimulating to bones than simply jogging or running at a steady pace. Dr. Krustrup said that although many adults think their only exercise options are jogging or joining a gym, the study shows the value of recreational team sports. Well, so this passage is talking about the observations of Peter Krustrup, who literally made a study and tried to check out how women who play soccer have better fitness and better heart health and bone health when compared to the people who do simple exercise called running. Yes, which of the following indicators of health showed improvement? Balance and mental strength, bone and heart health, aging process and fitness, body temperature, and blood pressure. So which of the 4 options is correct? Yes, the answer is option B, bone and heart health, because the entire passage is talking about how bone and heart health of a women who play soccer could be highly improved when compared to the people who do simple exercises. So option B is the right one. Moving on. What is described in the passage, in the given passage? So 4 options are given. Advantages of playing soccer for children and men, health benefits of various forms of exercise, health gain for women participating in sports, improvement in social skills while playing sports. Try to guess the right answer from out of the options given below. The answer is option C, health gain for women participating in sports. So the entire passage talks about the same thing. What is most appropriately described in the passage is health gain for women participating in sports, very especially in soccer. Why did soccer have a greater impact on women than running? So the total passage, the entire passage is centrally focusing on this concept. So the 4 options, try to pick out the correct option here. It provides more stimulation and motivation. Running involves less extensive workout. Team spirit has more influence than running alone. It helps in dealing with stressful situations. The correct option is it provides more stimulation and motivation. Why did soccer have a greater impact on women than running? Because it provides more stimulation and motivation, because it provides a lot of stimulation in the body. Stimulation means a lot of movement, and it also provides a lot of motivation for women to do that task, because it is more challenging and more activity oriented. Yes, moving on to next question. How is soccer related to bone aging? 4 options. Soccer involves reduction in bone mass. Soccer affects bone density and not bone aging. Process of aging reduces drastically. Bone mineral density increases. Very easy question. Yes, the correct option is option D. Bone mineral density increases. That's what we have seen in the paragraph. Well, I think this is the last question of this passage. Let's move on to the next passage. At the end of the 19th century, India's Maharajas discovered a Persian designer called Louis Vuitton and flooded his small factory with orders for custom-made Rolls-Royce interiors. Rolls-Royce, of course, it's a luxurious car manufacturing brands. So by the 19th century, all these some of the Maharajas here refers to the rich people of India, happened to go to Persian designer called Louis Vuitton, who was expert in designing interior of a Rolls-Royce car. Leather picnic hampers and modish polo club bags. But after independence, when India's princes lost much of their wealth, the orders dripped off. Then in 2002, LVMH, the world's largest luxury goods group, made a triumphant return to India, opening a boutique in Delhi and another in Mumbai in 2004. So in the 19th centuries, probably it is the pre-independence time, where a lot of rich people who bought Rolls-Royce used to go to a person called Louis Vuitton for designing their interiors. But after the freedom, after the independence has come, most of these rich people happen to lose all their wealth to the British or to the government. And later, what happened by 2002, most of the orders dried up because nobody was going to him, because all the rich people slowly stopped buying Rolls-Royce and they compromised with simple cars. Later in 2002, the world's largest luxury goods group made a triumphant return to India, opening a boutique in Delhi and another in Mumbai in 2004. Yes, its target was the new breed of Maharaja produced by India's liberalized economy, flash and growing in number. So other purveyors of opulence followed from Channel to Bulgaria. In recent months, a multitude of swanky brands have announced plans to set up shop in India, including Dolce & Gabbana, Hermes, Jimmy Choo and Gucci. And Indian women will soon be invited to spend over $100 on bras made by La Perla, an Italian lingerie firm. Only a tiny fraction, of course, will do so, but it is India's future prospects that have excited the luxury behemoths. So behemoths here means brands. So the luxury brands. So I'm sure you might have come across all these brands like Dolce & Gabbana, Holmes, Jimmy Choo and Gucci, and also what you call La Perla. Okay, this is all about the Italian lingerie firm. Lingerie firm means this firm. Lingerie refers to the inner garments. The inner garments specially worn by women are called lingerie. Okay, so these are the kind of things. So because until that time, most of the Indians are not used to what you call the branded top brands of the world. But soon, with the arrival of the new Maharajas, which means the new rich class of India, as they have come up because of the liberalized economy, because of the business and all, so automatically all these top brands of the world have started coming into India because they want to produce, they want to introduce all these top brands of the world to the local people, I mean to the people of India, to the rich class of India. Moving on. India has fewer than $1 lakh millionaires among its 1 billion plus population. According to American Express, a financial services firm, it predicts that this number will grow by 12.8% a year for the next 3 years. The longer-term ascendance of India's middle class, meanwhile, has been charted by McKinsey Global Institute, which predicts that average incomes will have tripled by 2025, lifting nearly 300 million Indians out of poverty and causing the middle class to grow more than tenfold to 583 million. So this is a survey that talks about how middle class are slowly trying to become upper class, the rich class. So in the beginning of the passage, we have seen there are only just $1 lakh million people are there in India. But however, soon it is slowly building up because it's a survey conducted by American Express, a financial service firm, and how this rich class in India are slowly trying to improve every year. That's what it talks about. Yes, demand for all kinds of consumer products is about the surge, in short. And although restriction on foreign investment prevent retail giants such as Walmart and Tesco from entering India directly, different rules apply to companies that sell their own products under a single brand. A luxury goods firms tend to. Since January 2006, they have been allowed to take up to 51% in Indian joint ventures. India is also an attractive market for luxury goods because, unlike China, it does not have a flourishing counterfeit industry. Credit is becoming more easily available, and later this year, Vogue, a fashion magazine, will launch an Indian edition. Vogue, there is a fashion magazine which tries to highlight all the fashion goods, the luxury goods of the people here, the fashion industry. So it said that in India, this luxury goods market is luxury goods. The love for luxury goods is slowly increasing, unlike China, because in China, even if there are people who are using luxury goods, there is again the counter industry, the counter market, the counterfeit market. The counterfeit market means the market which will produce duplicate, okay, the duplicate of the luxury goods. So therefore, in China, they will not be able to identify what is real. See, for example, you have an Apple iPhone. And there are more than 100 models of Apple iPhones in India which are created and in fact produced by the counterfeit industry in China. Whereas in India, such kind of facility is not available, because once we get a brand is a brand here. Alright. Barriers to growth remain, however. High import duties make luxury goods expensive. Rich Indians tend to travel widely and may simply buy elsewhere. Finding suitable retail space is also providing a headache. So far, most designer boutiques are situated in 5-star hotels. But things are changing. Later this year, Emporio, a new luxury goods mall, will open in a prosperous neighborhood in the south of Delhi. It is likely to be the first of many. Even so, India could remain a difficult market to crack. Last October, the Luxury Marketing Council, an international organization of 675 luxury goods firms, opened its India chapter. Its boss, Devyani Raman, described India's luxury goods market as one second, please. Well, Devyani Raman described India's luxury goods market as a cupboard full of beautiful clothes with a new outfit arriving every day. It could start to look messy without the right care. This, she said, included everything from teaching shop assistants appropriate manners to instilling in the Indian public a proper understanding of the concept of luxury. How do you educate them? She asked about the difference between a designer bag that costs $400 and a much cheaper leather bag that functions perfectly well. So here are the questions. Who are the new breed of Maharajas? Maharajas who recovered their wealth in 2004, the children of the older Maharajas, the new class of rich people who emerged in India post-liberalization, none of these. Very easy guess. The correct option is option 3. The new class of rich people which emerged in India post-liberalization.